Hi, today I'd like to talk about the ART or ART TPatch. It's an 8-point balance patch bay. First, we'll do a little bit of a walkthrough, then I'll tell you kind of what my challenge was and why I needed this. So it comes in a nice little box. It's on a hang tag, so if you go to the store, it might be hanging up somewhere. So it just comes packed like that, and there's your T-patch. It comes with pretty good instructions, so I'm not going to spend too much time on the instructions because I think they're pretty self-explanatory. And with these patch bays in general, there's a lot of really good YouTube videos on how to use these, so I might go into a little detail. But one thing, so I already had this hooked up and mounted, but I will talk about kind of how these are set up. I guess I should add, these are about $50. I got mine from Sweetwater, but you can get them pretty much anywhere. You might be able to find a used one even cheaper. So this is an 8-point balance patch bay. All right, there's 8 holes in the back and 8 in the front. All right, and so the way they're numbered, so in the back it's actually kind of backwards. So you're actually starting at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, and if you go to the front, you'll notice 1 corresponds with the 1 in the back, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. So it kind of goes that sort of a direction. So these line up front to back, or back to front, however you want to look at it. They're pretty decent build quality. They've got a metal case. It's actually a plastic body, which is fine. Seems like it's hard to say. I'm not sure if that's aluminum or plastic. It's one of those, it's whatever it is. It feels pretty sturdy. It's got these little rubberized feet, and those are kind of handy. All right, and I actually mounted mine. I'll show you how I did that when we go over to my rack. They do have the wiring or signal flow diagram on the back, on the bottom of it as well, so that's kind of handy. So this is balanced, so you can maintain a balanced signal throughout your signal chain. So this one uses TSR cables. You can get big ones, like the full, I guess 16 or even 24-point patch bays. That would take up a full rack space, but that's one reason I wanted this guy, because he was much smaller and I didn't have a need for, basically this fits my need perfect. So to hook these up, I like to use XLR cables, all right, which is fine for the outboard equipment, but that wouldn't plug into this thing. So for that I had to use a XLR to TSR cable, all right, those are readily available, all right. So that's the female end, and here is the male type, all right, okay. And so this would plug into your devices, this side here, and this would have obviously plug into your patch bay. So as you can see, I've already labeled my ports here, okay, or points, I guess they call them, so I know kind of how the signal is going to flow. So the first, I guess one key point, if you don't know that much about them, I'd still recommend hitting some other YouTube videos to kind of give you a better explanation. But whatever's plugged into the back here, the output will be on the front, on the top, and on the bottom of the back will be an output. So it basically, if you don't plug anything to the front here, your input will be on the top and the output will be on the bottom. Okay, and that's like the general concept of these. Now, what happens is when you plug in to either the top or the bottom, you break that connection in the back. Okay, and then that way you can patch to other devices. Either patch an output from some device to an output, okay? Or likewise, you can flip any of your inputs from the back to go to a different output, which will go to a different device as well. So they're very flexible, gives you a lot of room to try different things. So there's various ways you can hook these up, and I'll focus on just the normal mode. You have little buttons in the back. You can select what you want to do with that. If you want the normal or half normal modes, and I'm not going to go into that. So I think for my use, at least, I'll be just using the normal mode. Okay, well, let's look at we'll move to my setup. Okay, let's go through some of the devices I'll be talking about or I'll be using. So primarily, I'll probably go in through, I don't know if you can see that in the picture or not, but that's the microphone, and it's just like an XLR. So the way I've got this set up is a mic, or you could hook it up to any other device if you want to go through the preamp, the way I've got it set up. But I would start with the mic. This microphone then goes to the preamp portion of the Focusrite, all right? And so the way it's set up in a normal mode, when I show how I'm going to hook this up, this will go directly to the compressor, okay? And then the compressor will go directly to my Model 12 over here, okay? Now, part of my problem was when I got all this, I got the Focusrite and I thought, oh, this is great. So I started to want to use other things, and especially with the compressor, when I wanted to change something, I had to think about rerunning the cables. And so that's the problem, was these patch bays sell that you don't have to rerun cables significantly. There's still, I mean, little cables you can run, but not, you're not unhooking from the back and everything. So the way it's set up is the ISA one has both the preamp portion and a DI box. Okay, so it's built into one, which is handy. Okay, most of my things are going to go through one or the other. It goes through the compressor. I think most of my work will go through the compressor, and then that then will be sent on to the Model 12. Okay, but to go from, you don't want to be changing wiring if you can help it, to go from the preamp portion to the compressor, you'd have to recable if you want to go to the DI section to the compressor. And that's the biggest problem, is you actually would have to, actually the preamp's over here, not there, but the preamp section, you would actually have to unplug from the output of the preamp and plug into the output of the DI box if you wanted to use that, if I wanted to use that compressor. That's the basic gist of this whole thing. So let me go ahead and I'll show you how this hooks up. Okay, I wanted to mount this on the side because obviously my little rack is full, but I guess I have one space here. I kind of like to keep that open for ventilation for my little power amp down here. And I don't like to have a bunch of junk that I'm not using anyway. I don't need to fill it up just to make it look good, although that's cool too. But so I wanted to put this on the side, and they really don't come with any kind of mounting options, but I wanted to have it on the side. So what I did was 3D print these rails. If you're interested in that file that for the print, I can maybe post that on Thingiverse or something. So what that does for me then is I can slide this in kind of easy. There we go. And there, so then it hangs off the side and kind of out of the way. Now, so what I've done is obviously labeled everything already, and I've labeled my cables. Okay, so this is from the ISA pre, so I want that to go in the top, in the back, so that'll go in one. Let's see, then the ISA from the ISA DI box. Okay, so I'm going to put it in the back where it says ISA DI. I've got the input to the compressor, the KT-76. All right, so that'll actually go in the output. Okay, so we've got the output from the preamp plugged in, the output from the DI part plugged in, and the output to the compressor on the bottom here. All right, I've got a few other things I can do plug in here. So one is at some point I want the signal to go to my Model 12. All right, so we'll plug that in down here. So that'll be in number 8, and that goes to the Model 12. There you go. Okay, who we got left here? Okay, so this is from the compressor. So that goes to the compressor here on port number 5, but I want to send it to port number 4. Okay, so that'll output back here. And so what'll happen is if you plug in the front here on ISA 1, it'll automatically go to the compressor. From the compressor, the way it's wired right now, it goes to the output from the compressor to this port, which automatically goes to the Model 12. I hope I'm not confusing too many people. Now I've also got the aux send from my Model 12. So for some reason I've got a channel where I want to send it through the compressor for some reason, maybe through keyboards or something. We can plug this in to where it says aux 1, and so that's the one I'm leaving because I have played with that a little bit on those sends. Okay? All right, so I hope that makes sense to people. Now, so we can kind of show how this would work. So automatically, I'm going to go from the preamp to the compressor. That's automatic. But let's say I want to go from my DI box to the compressor. All I have to do, okay, what that does then, it breaks the signal between the preamp and the compressor. But what it does do is it creates a connection between the DI box and the compressor. Likewise, I can also send my aux signal from the Model 12 to my compressor, okay? And then with all these different setups, it automatically goes back into here and then goes out to the Model 12 without having to do any other changes. Now, what you can do also, say you had some other box you're using. Say you had like a, like one of these pair of DIs, or you had a, because everyone wants a Behringer 2-amp modeler, but, really cheap little thing. But, or, any of these other little type amps. Here's a hot tone. These are kind of fun. Okay, let's say you've got your 2-amp modeler and you've got your guitar plugged in here. Obviously, you'd hit your output from here. Okay, and it's, say we want to do the compressor. That's kind of the purpose of all this. I can go right into the compressor this way. Okay, and what that does then is I've gone through my 2-amp modeler to here, which goes to the compressor, and then automatically from the compressor to the Model 12. Okay, so these are just a nice little, I haven't had a chance to play with the two yet, other than I've gone through and made sure everything works, which is really nice. So yeah, I recommend them. Okay, let's see if we can demonstrate how this actually works. So right now, like I said, the way it's set up is the microphone will go directly through the preamp portion. I don't know if you can see that or not. So it's moving on the VU meter up here as well. But so that signal's coming in from the preamp. Now, if I want to do the DI box, see, I can touch this and nothing's coming through the compressor. Okay, but let's hook up the compressor to the preamp portion. Whoop. So here's the DI to the compressor. Okay, so here's the mic. And you can see, maybe, I hate doing this, but you can see the little needle on the preamp going, but nothing moving on the compressor. Now I'm just going to use my finger to get some signal going here. And as I touch the input of the DI part, you can see that's sending signal through the compressor. All right, if I disconnect these again, it reverts back to the preamp. So again, nothing coming through, signal coming through. All right. Likewise, I can do the aux 1 from my Model 12. I'm not going to turn anything on for that, but then again, I would have whatever that signal from the aux 1 on my Model 12, whatever channel I selected, would then go through the compressor. And if you wanted to bypass the compressor all the way, you can simply, let's say we want to use the preamp without the compressor, you would output from the compressor, and in my case it's a Model 12, then go directly to the Model 12. Okay, so I keep talking about sending things to the Model 12. Well, again, I've got an XLR cable that goes to any of the channels I want here, all right? But the way it's set up, without any modifications to plugging anything else to the patch bay, it'll come out of the compressor and be sent directly to whatever channel I want to plug it into. So you want to plug it into 3 or something, okay? So just a couple of closing statements is I think this is really a fun little device. Well, fun in that you don't have to recable everything when you want to go from, say, some output device. You could have your microphone going to your, miking an amp, because I can run this anywhere basically, and that could go through your preamp if you wanted. You could even bypass your preamp if you wanted as well. Just go to the DI, for example. Anyway, so it offers a ton of flexibility by doing that. Obviously, it's a small footprint, which is what I wanted. Price was good, was about $50. Now, if you wanted, you could pick up a used 16 patch bay for very reasonable, probably much cheaper than the $50 I paid for this. But then again, it's going to take up a full rack space. But I like the size because really this meets all my needs. I'm just one person. I usually just do one signal at a time, maybe the drums like through Easy Drummer, but that would come through directly out of Easy Drummer into the Model 12. Okay, I hope you found this video informative, if not interesting. Maybe you learned something about it. This is actually the first patch bay I've had, so I was kind of new experience for me. And then after I realized what it could do, I was kind of thinking, why haven't I got one of these years ago? So I can see, I thought about getting a patch bay years ago, but they were all the 16 or 24 channels, or patch bays, I guess, whatever you call them, or points, I guess. but they were always too big for what I needed, and I didn't have that much equipment at the time. So using the outboard, like the compressor and the preamp, which I really like that. That really works out well. This really is something that'll be really handy for years to come. So if you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. If you learned something, found it informative, please subscribe so I can keep making more of these, and that helps my channel grow as well. So I'd like to thank you very much for watching.